The glittering lights of the entertainment industry often mask a world where reality and perception are constantly at war. A place where a single moment can redefine a legacy or ignite a firestorm that burns through decades of carefully constructed narratives. For generations, audiences have looked to the grand stages of television to find truth, vulnerability, and the ultimate stories of redemption, trusting the voices that guide them through the deeply personal journeys of their favorite icons. There is a profound, almost sacred bond between the public, the stars who capture their hearts, and the media titans who hold the power to shape how those stars are remembered. When that bond is tested, or when the memories of a beloved figure are brought into question years after they have left the spotlight, the ripples are felt across the entire cultural landscape. It forces us to look back at the moments we thought we understood, to re-examine the fine line between protective secrecy and rewriting history, and to wonder what truly happens when the cameras stop rolling and the stage lights dim into complete darkness. This delicate balance between fame, truth, and the preservation of a musical dynasty forms the backdrop of a growing controversy that has recently captivated the public mind, reminding everyone of the immense power of words and the enduring duty to protect those who can no longer speak for themselves. If you find these deep dives into the untold chapters of Hollywood history compelling, please consider subscribing to the channel to ensure you never miss an exploration into the truth behind the headlines. The story begins in an era of massive television events, a time when daytime talk shows were the ultimate cultural town squares where legends bared their souls and confronted their deepest demons in front of millions of watching eyes. In those days, a single interview could change the trajectory of a career, offering a path toward salvation and a triumphant return to glory for artists who had endured the harshest storms of public scrutiny. The anticipation surrounding these moments was always palpable, fueled by a collective desire to see a legendary figure rise from the ashes and reclaim their rightful place at the pinnacle of the artistic world. For one global superstar, a highly anticipated appearance on the most influential platform in broadcasting was meant to be the definitive declaration of a new beginning, a beautiful testament to resilience, healing, and the timeless magic of an unmatched vocal gift. It was supposed to be a celebration of survival, a moment where past struggles were formally left behind in exchange for a bright, unblemished future that fans around the globe had been praying for. The atmosphere in the studio during that historic taping was charged with an intensity that few other events could ever replicate, drawing together a loyal audience that felt deeply connected to the struggles and triumphs of the performer on stage. Yet, behind the scenes of this monumental television event, beneath the glamour and the emotional weight of a historic comeback, a completely different narrative was quietly unfolding, one that would remain hidden from the public eye for years before exploding into a fierce contemporary debate. The discrepancy between what the world saw on their television screens and what allegedly occurred during the private, unbroadcasted hours of production has become the focal point of an intense, emotionally charged dispute that threatens to alter how a pivotal moment in pop culture history is remembered. On one side stands a legendary media mogul whose influence over public discourse is virtually unparalleled, a figure accustomed to having her recollections accepted as definitive historical truth. On the other side is a dedicated coalition of family members, loyal staff, and close confidants who view these recent public statements as a deeply hurtful distortion of reality, an unnecessary wound inflicted upon a legacy that has already endured more than its share of tragedy and scrutiny. The clash over these conflicting memories highlights a much larger struggle within the entertainment world, a battle over who truly owns the narrative of a superstar's life, and what responsibility the media bears when recounting the private vulnerabilities of the departed as the years have passed. The details of that fateful studio session have taken on an almost mythic quality, with conflicting accounts emerging about the atmosphere, the behavior of the performer, and the true sequence of events that transpired before the cameras began to roll for the official broadcast. What was once viewed as a flawless, inspiring triumph of the human spirit is now being re-examined through a lens of suspicion and accusation, raising uncomfortable questions about the motives behind revealing long-held secrets on international stages. The sudden resurgence of this narrative has not only reopened old wounds for those who were closest to the iconic singer, but it has also sparked a broader conversation among audiences about the ethics of celebrity journalism and the limits of archival storytelling. It forces a reconsideration of the unspoken agreements that exist between hosts and their guests, particularly when those guests are navigating the fragile waters of personal recovery and professional rebirth in the full glare of the media spotlight. The current uproar serves as a stark reminder that the past is never truly buried and that the memories of our most cherished cultural figures remain a deeply contested territory where love, loyalty, and the pursuit of headlines frequently collide. The current controversy centers on allegations that have shocked fans and insiders alike, challenging the long-held belief that the singer's landmark appearance was a purely triumphant and sober milestone in her journey. By suggesting that the reality behind the scenes was far more chaotic and troubling than the inspiring final broadcast indicated, these new assertions have effectively disrupted the peaceful legacy that supporters have fought desperately to protect. The backlash was immediate and severe, reflecting the deep sense of betrayal felt by those who argue that these claims are not only factually inaccurate, but also deeply damaging to the memory of an artist who gave so much of herself to the world. As various eyewitnesses and industry veterans step forward to challenge the prominent host's version of events, the dispute has rapidly escalated from a simple disagreement over historical facts into a passionate defense of a singer's dignity and professional integrity during one of the most critical chunks of her later career. This unfolding drama underscores the immense difficulty of separating the true human being from the monumental myth that surrounds them, a challenge that becomes infinitely more complex when powerful figures offer contradictory testimonies about moments shared in the strictest confidence. The unfolding controversy reached a boiling point when Oprah Winfrey, speaking before a prominent audience at the prestigious Cannes Lions International Festival, decided to share her own vivid recollection of what transpired behind the closed doors of her studio back in 2009. According to Winfrey's recent public statements, the atmospheric tension during that historic two-part season premiere was far more severe than anyone in the public ever realized. She claimed on the global stage that Whitney Houston had suffered a profound physical and personal setback during the production, alleging that the legendary singer actually stumbled and fell off the stage because she was heavily under the influence and had relapsed by the time of the taping. To add a layer of dramatic weight to her story, the former daytime talk show titan went on to explain that she had personally begged the studio audience present that day to remain completely silent about the incident, asserting that she knew the revelation of such a catastrophic moment would completely destroy Houston's fragile plans for a grand career comeback. Winfrey painted a picture of herself as a protective guardian who went to extreme lengths to shield a vulnerable friend from the ravenous entertainment press, claiming she even forced her production staff to sign strict non-disclosure agreements and threatened immediate termination for anyone who dared to leak the details of the stage fall to the media. This startling revelation, delivered years after Houston's tragic passing, was intended to showcase the hidden burdens of a media mogul, but it instead ignited a fierce firestorm of immediate denials and sharp rebukes from those who were actually standing within arm's reach of the singer that day. The estate of Whitney Houston led the charge against this narrative, swiftly releasing a formal statement that directly contradicted Winfrey's version of the event. While the estate did not deny that a fall took place, they offered a drastically different context that completely removed any implication of drug use or personal relapse. According to the estate's official response, Houston did indeed slip off the edge of the stage, but the mishap occurred during an early morning technical sound check rather than a live taping, and it was caused entirely by the extreme darkness of the unlit studio environment combined with the singer's total unfamiliarity with the complex physical layout of the new set design. The estate emphasized in no uncertain terms that Houston was absolutely sober, focused, and not on drugs during the production, reframing the entire incident as a routine minor workplace accident that had been unfairly weaponized and sensationalized for modern headlines. The pushback grew even more intense when Tiffany Dixon, Whitney Houston's personal hairstylist who was present in the building during the 2009 taping, stepped forward publicly to denounce Winfrey's claims as complete and utter baloney. During an emotional and highly publicized live online conversation with loyal Houston fan and archivist Quincy Thomas, Dixon chose to break her long silence to defend the memory of the woman she worked with so closely. Dixon stated with absolute certainty that the allegations of Houston being high were entirely fabricated, confirming that she was standing just a few feet away when the incident occurred. In her detailed eyewitness account, Dixon's explained that the fall happened simply because the production crew had completely failed to rope off the dangerous edges of the stage or provide adequate safety markers for the performers navigating the space. Dixon expressed a deep sense of personal disturbance and anger over Winfrey's recent comments at Cannes Lions, stating that there was absolutely no truth or validity to the claim that substance abuse played a role in the accident. She described Winfrey's remarks as a blatant lie and publicly questioned the media icon's motives, stating that Winfrey had a lot of nerve to rewrite history and exploit a deceased artist's past struggles just to create a sensational moment for an international audience, adding further weight to the defense of Houston's sobriety that day. An independent source closely familiar with the internal workings of the 2009 talk show production came forward to validate the hairstylist's perspective, describing the singer's overall demeanor during the multi-day taping as remarkably upbeat, genuinely happy, and completely clear-headed. This insider source reiterated that Houston was fully dedicated to her recovery at that time and was genuinely excited about promoting what would ultimately become her final studio album, the deeply personal and critically acclaimed project titled I Look to You. The landmark two-part interview with Winfrey was supposed to serve as the definitive platform where Houston could openly address her highly publicized, exhausting battle with addiction and her painful, high-profile divorce from Bobby Brown, allowing her to clear the air on her own terms and move forward into a healthy new chapter of her life. The fact that this very platform is now being cited as the site of a hidden relapse has struck a deeply painful chord with Houston's surviving inner circle, who feel that the singer's genuine efforts toward transparency and healing are being systematically undermined by the very person who profited from broadcasting them. The controversy took an even more dramatic turn when veteran entertainment journalist Roger Friedman, the respected founder of the industry site Showbiz 4111, publicly called out Winfrey's changing narrative by revealing the existence of a conflicting past statement made by Winfrey herself. Friedman recalled a specific, widely attended digital meeting in 2021 with legendary music executive Clive Davis, during which the topic of Houston's daytime television appearance was explicitly discussed. According to Friedman, during that private conversation, Winfrey herself openly admitted to the participants that it was absolutely not drugs or intoxication that caused Houston to slip from the stage during the production. Friedman asserted that Winfrey is fully aware that her recent statements at the Cannes Lions Festival are completely untrue, and he boldly claimed that he knows exactly where the archival video recording of that 2021 conversation is kept and is fully prepared to produce it publicly if the situation requires it. Friedman expressed a profound sense of disappointment in the talk show legend, stating that she has done herself absolutely no favors by choosing to exploit the memory of Whitney Houston for contemporary media attention, suggesting that the drive for shocking headlines had ultimately triumphed over historical accuracy and mutual respect as these conflicting testimonies continue to pile up. The tension surrounding the true nature of that 2009 studio session has transformed into a massive public debate about memory, media ethics, and the vulnerability of historical truth. Every detail of that fateful day is now being intensely analyzed under a public microscope, with fans and industry experts alike demanding accountability and clarity from a production team that has chosen to remain largely silent. The intense emotional weight of this dispute stems from the fact that it involves two of the most powerful and influential African American women in the history of the modern entertainment industry. Individuals whose professional paths crossed at a moment of extreme vulnerability and massive commercial stakes. The stark contrast between Winfrey's narrative of a chaotic, hidden relapse and the eyewitness accounts of a sober, hardworking artist dealing with a dark, poorly marked stage has exposed a deep, seemingly unbridgeable rift in how this critical moment is recorded for posterity. The silence from Winfrey's official representatives, who have continuously declined to provide any comment or clarification to the major news outlets investigating the story, has only served to heighten the prevailing sense of mystery and unresolved tension, leaving the public to parse through the passionate defenses of Houston's loyal allies as they fight to keep the singer's hard-won dignity intact. To truly understand why this contemporary clash over a single afternoon in a television studio carries such immense emotional weight, one must examine the incredible tempestuous journey of Whitney Houston herself, an artist whose unmatched vocal brilliance defined an entire era of global popular music. From her early days singing in the gospel choirs of New Jersey under the guidance of her legendary mother, Whitney Houston, to her meteoric rise as the ultimate pop princess of the 1980s and 90s, Houston possessed a rare, transcendent talent that crossed all cultural boundaries. Her voice was a magnificent instrument of pure power, precision, and deep emotional resonance, earning her the simple, definitive title of the Voice. Yet, alongside her unparalleled professional triumphs, which included breaking chart records, selling hundreds of millions of albums worldwide, and delivering iconic performances like her legendary rendition of the national anthem, Houston's private life became the subject of a relentless, often cruel media fixation. Her highly publicized, volatile marriage to R&B star Bobby Brown and her open, exhausting battles with severe substance abuse were treated as daily tabloid fodder, overshadowing her immense artistic contributions and turning a deeply sensitive human being into a tragic spectacle for public consumption. By the time she walked onto Oprah Winfrey's stage in 2009, Houston had endured years of intense personal struggle, a painful public divorce, and a long absence from the music charts, making that specific interview a monumental, high-stakes attempt to reclaim her autonomy, her dignity, and her career. The 2009 season premiere of Winfrey's legendary talk show was deliberately designed to be more than just a standard promotional stop for Houston's final studio album, I Look to You. It was framed as a grand cultural ritual of redemption and truth-telling. Audiences around the world watched in awe as Houston sat before Winfrey, bearing her soul with a level of raw honesty and vulnerability that few superstars of her caliber had ever dared to display. She spoke openly about the suffocating nature of her past dependencies, the emotional toll of her fractured marriage, and the grueling journey she had undertaken to rebuild her health and her vocal strength for the sake of her beloved daughter, Bobby Christina Brown. It was a masterclass in daytime television storytelling, an event that allowed the public to move past the sensationalized headlines and reconnect with the human being behind the mythical voice. Because that broadcast was so universally celebrated as a definitive, inspiring milestone in Houston's later life. The sudden suggestion by Winfrey, nearly 2 decades later, that the entire event was underpinned by a secret relapse and a chaotic, backstage cover-up feels to many like a profound betrayal of that shared cultural moment. For Houston's loyal fans and surviving family members, defending the integrity of that 2009 interview is not just a disagreement over a historical timeline, it is a vital, non-negotiable battle to preserve the true narrative of her hard-fought sobriety during a period when she was trying desperately to heal. This explosive dispute raises profound, uncomfortable questions about the ethics of celebrity storytelling, the limits of archival history, and the responsibilities of the powerful media figures who control how iconic individuals are remembered long after they are gone. When an artist of Houston's stature passes away under tragic circumstances, their legacy becomes an incredibly fragile entity, a collective memory that must be guarded against sensationalism, commercial exploitation, and revisionist histories. The swift, passionate intervention of Houston's estate, her personal hairstylist Tiffany Dixon, and trusted industry veterans like Roger Friedman demonstrates a growing determination among those who actually knew and loved the singer to prevent her memory from being used as a casual anecdote for international headlines. They argue that rewriting the details of her life to emphasize chaos over resilience does a massive disservice to an artist who spent her final years fighting bravely against her demons. Furthermore, the revelation of past conflicting statements, such as the 2021 digital meeting with Clive Davis, where Winfrey reportedly affirmed that drugs played no role in the stage accident, adds a layer of investigative tension that demands absolute transparency from all parties involved, reminding everyone that in the digital age, historical receipts are easily preserved and fiercely defended as the entertainment world watches this high-profile standoff continue to unfold. The silence from Winfrey's camp remains a telling indicator of the deep complexities and high stakes of this unfolding media drama. The controversy serves as a stark, powerful reminder that the stories we tell about our cultural icons matter deeply, shaping not only how future generations will view their artistic achievements, but also how we evaluate their human struggles. Whitney Houston's journey was one of immense joy, profound pain, unmatched creative genius, and an enduring resilience that inspired millions of people around the globe. Her legacy deserves to be treated with the utmost reverence, accuracy, and respect, free from the distortings of sensationalized modern recollections that seek to reduce her complex human experience into a shocking festival talking point. While the true, definitive sequence of events behind the closed doors of that 2009 studio session may continue to be debated by insiders, the passionate defense mounted by Houston's inner circle ensures that her voice, her dignity, and her true efforts toward a sober comeback will never be easily erased from the pages of history. Ultimately, this battle over memories reminds us that the truth of a person's life belongs to those who stood by them in the darkest corners of the stage, long after the bright lights of Hollywood have faded into silence.